style and the waltz of the Belvedere suite is probably the first thing you're going to work on, and it's also probably going to be the last thing that you're working on when you're finishing up those details before the performance to make the performance special. So why do I say that? The first thing that we need to figure out with the style is, what are we going to do with the quarter notes? The détaché quarter notes are all marked staccato in Belvedere suite, except for in the cello part. In the cello parts, the cellos do not have staccato markings. You know, in the violins, everybody's slurred. The cellos, not slurred. Why is this? Why are the violin parts slurred and the cello parts are not slurred? So if we think about the history behind Merrill Isaac and his orchestra at Marshall High School in Chicago, we know that his violinists, quite a few of them were taking private lessons, and the rest of the orchestra was not. And so there was a big level gap between his violinists and the rest of the orchestra. So that's why we're going to see probably more technique in the violin parts than we're going to see in the other string parts. So I think probably what happened was he needed more power from the cellos, and they were having trouble with the slurs, so he just took the slurs out. Hey, you know, what does it matter? But in any case, they're going to probably play their détaché quarter notes legato, and these arpeggiated settings right here at the beginning when they just have these quarter notes, quarter rest, quarter notes, quarter rest, this kind of stuff. How are they going to play these? Are you going to play them on the string, or are you going to play them off the string? I have a teaching companion to the waltz from the Belvedere suite. It's just the waltz. It's not the whole suite. So don't get salty if you buy it and you're like, where's the other three movements? It's just the waltz. And some people, when they get a hold of it, they're like, hey, why is the teaching companion longer than the piece itself? Well, because there's a lot of technique in here, and I want everybody to get the technique, not just the violins. I want your cellos and bass players and violists to be able to get the technique too. So of course we always start with the finger patterns here, and then we go on to rhythm number 1. And whether you're playing this on the string or off the string, you need to set the bow and the rest. And then rhythm number 2 is the other rhythm there in the intro, where we have quarter rest followed by 2 quarter notes. And again, whether it's rhythm number 1, we have down bow, up bow, or rhythm number 2, we have down bow, up bow. It's just masterfully written so that you don't have any uneven bows in this waltz. On the string or off the string? That is the question. We have this problem in music education where the students don't quite have the technique to be able to do something, and we have to bridge that gap. And so how do we do that? And you know, the concert's coming up. Are they going to be able to bridge that gap in time? You know, if we try to get them to play off the string and they don't quite get it in time, concert's not going to sound as good as if we play it on the string. But if we have them play it on the string, it's not going to quite sound as good as if it did if we play off the string. So we have what's called a type 1 error. Like if we make the decision to teach them off the string playing for the very first time while they're playing this, it might not be as clean as we want it. But if we have them play on the string, it's never going to be as clean as we want it. So if you think about it in a different way, you know, yes, playing off the string is hard, but it may be harder if they play it on the string. It might actually take less effort in the long run to teach them to play off the string. And in season 1, episode 7, I do a series on spiccato. Now, there's no full-blown spiccato in this waltz, but it will teach them the techniques that they need to get off the string. And one of those videos that I have with the demonstration orchestra is something that I call trampoline bows. And basically, they take their bow and they press into the string, and they just kind of feel the resistance of the bow and of the string, and they start coming off, and they feel how to press and come off the string. And then if they just start adding a little bit of horizontal motion to that, they start developing brush strokes. And it teaches them to set, grip, brush, set, grip, brush, set, grip, brush. And when you're playing this in the teaching companion or in context in the waltz, you need to set the bow in the rest. If you're just colliding with the string at various times, it's never going to sound together, and it's not going to be good technique. So you might get some smart aleck kid who comes in and says, oh, well, I watched this video with Joshua Heifetz, and he starts off the string. Okay, well, first of all, you're not Joshua Heifetz. And second of all, if you slow it down, you'll see that it looks like he's starting off the string, but it's sort of showmanship, because he'll come off the string and then he'll come back down onto the string and then very carefully set the bow before the next note. I think another argument for teaching your students to play off the string is that it provides some accountability to different techniques. You know, you have to have a pretty good bow hand. If you have a lot of tension in your hand, playing off the string is going to be pretty tough, because when you reset the bow, that tension is going to create some ricochet, and so they have to learn how to loosen up the hands, and also they get an idea of how to set and grip, and I think that's important for every note that you play. I think there's also some kinesthetic value to this too, because there's this tactile sensation of them being able to feel the camber of the bow bend and also the string bend, and they can get that sensation, and that's pretty cool too. Now, when I say grip the string, I don't mean grip the bow with the bow hand. That's not what we want. That's going to create more tension. But the bow hair has to grip the string. That's the basis of our articulation. You know, how we begin the note matters. We have to activate that string, particularly for the low strings. You know, the C string on the cello, the E string on the bass, even the G string on the violins and the C string on the violas. It's a lot thicker than the other strings, and it takes more momentum to activate the string and get that string to go. And so we have to have something to create that activation force, and that's where we grip the string and then begin the note with that extra energy. After we grip the string, we don't continue to keep that grip the whole time and end up with a really crunchy sound, but we do want a little bit of that grit to start the note. We also have longer note values here in the waltz. We've got some dotted half notes and some ties over 3/4 notes. And waltz, it's pretty quick. You know, it's dotted half note equals 60, so that means for every second, that's a different bow. So, you know, 1 1,000, 2 1,000. But we can still use a fair amount of bow there, and we can still use a fair amount of weight onto the string and have that contrast between the legato long bows and the staccato quarter notes. So to make sure that your students have that technique with the dotted half notes or the slurs, can your students play long bows? All right, can they play a very slow, very long bow from frog to tip and then from tip back to frog, and can they keep their bow straight and keep a bowing lane? If they can't, we're going to have to fix that, and likely we're going to have to fix some of the mechanics. Again, to be able to teach all of those mechanics, we could talk to them all day about, okay, and the wrist does this, and the fingertips do this, and the elbow, and then the shoulder. You know, we could tell them every single physical step that goes into it. Or we can simply have them grip the string and feel that resistance, feel that friction across the string, so that their body will naturally shape to the natural force. You know, just an analogy, you can just actually take a field trip to the pool. Just go to the pool with your orchestra and have them get in the water and have them move their arm back and forth in the water. Are they going to move their arm back and forth like this? No, because the water provides that resistance, and it's going to shape the way their arm moves. Well, it's the same thing when the bow's on the string and you have the right amount of grip on the string. You're going to feel that resistance, and everything is going to move the way it should. In the teaching companion, I have some rhythms here to teach hemiola so that we contrast the long bows between the short bows. Rhythm 4 is all long bows, and you can work on those techniques to see if they can play these with a straight bow with good tone. In the next video, I'm going to be going over the 8th note patterns with the left hand. There are some patterns like these that occur just in the violin parts, you know, because remember, Isaac had good violins, and you know, there's a bunch of these in here, and I'm going to have some skill building so that your students can play these cleanly and make good sounds. So I hope to see you in the next video.